Hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. Hope you're having a great day today. And as you can see, I have a very special guest with me. This is the Bobcat Z5 4000 stand-on mower. And this is the GCI Turf MowDown ShowDown. So if you're new to the channel, be sure and like, subscribe, and share it to all you landscaping, lawn care buddies. We have a very unique opportunity here. We have 14 of the biggest, baddest American-made stand-on mowers. We're going to get the chance to go through all of them, look at all the little ins and outs and details of them, and I'm going to give you my take on it. I want you to know this is not a paid promotion. Bobcat or any of the other brands represented in this series have not given me any money to do this. I'm not even going to get to keep the mower. I don't want the mower. I'm going to give it back when I'm done. I'm doing this on my own time, on my own dime, strictly for you. I know that you can get a lemon in anything that you buy, and I'm sure that at some point in time somebody's got a mower and it has not treated them well. I know that people can get a little carried away in the comments and kind of beat brands up, but I do want you to be mindful that these machines are made in America, are made by American hands. So something you might say could potentially down the road affect a job, in some way, and I realize that's a crazy, weird way of looking at it, but it's my way of looking at it. So I ask that you be respectful in the comments. So this is not a competition style review. We're not competing mower A versus mower B. We're going to go through a list of categories, and we'll go over each category in some detail. I'm going to give you a score on that category, and not only am I going to do that, 3 of my crew leaders are taking these machines out all day long, using them on multiple yards, and they're going to score the machines as well so that you get more than one opinion. So before we jump into the categories, I like to start off with one word, and that is one word that I feel like best describes the machine in general. And my one word for this Bobcat Z5 4000 is wow. Wow. I was not expecting that, to be completely honest with you. This machine really shocked me a lot. Like, I was kind of floored using it. This is a great mower. Yeah, it's got some things on it that I don't care for, I don't like, that, if it were mine, I'd probably change, but I don't own it, so it's not mine. I don't own the rights to it, so it's not mine. But the good far outweighs the bad with this particular mower. So let's get right into this and see what happens. So first category is bad to the bone. That is the look of the machine. You know that I'm the muscle car, spinning tires, pulling gears, burning rubber kind of guy, horsepower. I just absolutely love it. I kind of like the look of the machine to kind of reflect that. I kind of like a in-your-face stance, kind of I'm gonna rip your head off, kind of get you some of me, that kind of look as a machine. And I think this kind of fits the bill on that. It's a little bit of a sleeper looking type machine, if that makes any sense. I like the way the casters kind of sit out a little bit further forward than some of the other machines I've seen, but that also causes it to ride extremely bad. We'll talk about the ride quality in a little bit. But the fender design, it's got little teeny tiny fenders, which is kind of good in a way and bad in a way. But as far as the look of it, it looks pretty dang cool. It's kind of boxy and squared off. There's not a lot of round accents to the machine. It kind of, maybe reminds me like what is it, a 66 Tracker Box Nova, kind of, squared off a little bit. And it's just kind of got a good hot rod look to it. But with that said, it just doesn't have that look to where I'm gonna jump off the trailer and just eat the grass alive. So for that, I'm gonna score the aesthetics of it 8.5. Build quality is the next category. Now that all these machines are made in America, and American quality is exceptional in my opinion. Americans like to take pride in what they do. At least this American does. And when I look at the welds and the build quality on this, one thing that stands out to me on this mower is simplicity. It looks to be designed and built extremely simple, which is, you know, a lot of the times a good thing. When I look at the welds, I'm pretty sure some of these are robot welds, you know, just like, you know, all the other machines. Some of the welds are probably done by human hands, some are done by robot hands. And as far as the build quality goes, I mean, I can't find nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's solid as it can be. Build quality, I gotta give it a 9.5. So on the next category is the toolbox, and that is the ease of maintenance. And what we tend to do in our company is basic oil changes, belt changes, obviously air filter. Hey, look here. This is something new and different. This air filter is totally and completely different than anything I've seen so far. Huh, okay, look at there. So that's not the traditional air filter that we've been seeing on the majority of these machines. But the ease of maintenance is easy. Take it out and replace it. So back to what I was saying, we do decks, oil changes, and occasionally we mess with the hydraulic system, fluid, filter, that kind of thing. But let's look at the deck and let's look at the blades right here and let's see how easy these are to change. No tools needed so far. Big old molded wing nut, and that just pops right off. And again, I don't study these machines to see the actual way that you are supposed to do all this. I'm simply going off my 20 years of experience, and I just want to kind of give you a one-off on how easily I think you can change the belts on this thing. So it looks like here's your idler pulley right here. And yes, we do have the square head cut out right there to where you can easily come right in here with a breaker bar, and you can remove the tension off of the pulley system. And it is one serpentine belt, and it looks pretty simple, other than this looks to have a nut on top of the idler pulley that it looks like you have to remove that nut and remove this guard right here so that the actual pulley will slide off so that you can take the belt off. Because I don't see a way, I don't think you can get this belt off without taking this guard off. So you can go to bobcat.com and double check me on that. But yeah, it looks like you do have to have a tool. That's maybe a 3/4, 5/8 roughly, something like that. Nylon nut, and you have to take that off. Take this guard. You may not have to take it all the way off. You can undo the nut and just slide this tab out of the way, and then the belt just pops right off. That's actually what it looks like it does. So maybe it ain't quite as hard as I originally thought. And when I'm talking about this nut, but you do have to have a tool to do it. That's what I'm seeing here. So let's come over here to the oil filter, and boy, I like that. This motor is actually sitting opposite of what most of the engines are sitting. Here's the oil filter right here, front and center. Extremely easy to get to. Absolutely no issues right there. And look at here. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Oh, that is such a relief to find a oil drain tube that this looks to have, yep, close and open. It actually has a valve built into the end of the drain tube. I can easily, without any effort whatsoever, put me a little catch pan right here, turn this valve, drain my oil, change the filter. My 13-year-old can change the oil on this motor easily. That's how easy this is. All right, so let's come back here and see what we can see on the hydros. It looks like this little nut right here pops off. Oh, wow. That's still got the book in it. I think the book goes in this thing right here. They must have forgot to put it in there. Huh. Well, glad that didn't catch on fire. So batteries right here, extremely easy to get to. These are the fuel tanks right here. Center fuel tanks, and I'll get down in here. I'm looking for a hydraulic filter and a hydraulic reservoir, and so far I'm not seeing it anywhere. Doesn't mean it's not here, it's just I'm not seeing it. I'll be honest with you, I don't even see a place to top off the hydraulic fluid on this thing. Maybe I'm just blind, but dang if I don't see it anywhere. So obviously this would be the case where we wouldn't even mess with it. It would go to the dealer for hydraulic work for sure. So I do apologize. We are going to move the machine over here in the shade. It is brutal hot today, and my camera keeps cutting off because it's overheating. I don't have that kind of time to wait and let it cool down. I've got things to do. So on the toolbox, ease of maintenance. The oil, extremely easy. Hydros, we wouldn't even mess with it. Dealer would do that. Belt is pretty easy. The battery, simple to get to. If the belt were just a touch easier, this would probably score a 10. But because you do have to have that one tool, I believe you do. Again, I want you to look on the Bobcat website and double check me on that. But it looks that you have to have a wrench to take that off. For that reason, I'm going to score it a 9. If it weren't for that, it would absolutely score a 10, strictly because the design of the belts and getting to them is easy, and changing the oil is probably the easiest one I've seen so far. So the next category, let's talk about ingenuity. That's the controls, the layouts, the ergonomics, functionality, ease of use, height of cut, adjustment, ease. The fuel tank, we're going to say that's in the middle. You know, I like it either in the middle or one on each side. That way you've got some good weight stability or weight transfer across the back of the machine. The controls, let's start with the layout, because the layout is pretty important to me. And the layout on this machine, the controls, is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. I just can't see it even getting better than this. You know, when I'm in the cockpit of the machine, I want everything right here. I don't like digging down in between the control levers and having to pop something, having to pop the PTO on, then come over here under this one and throttle up. That's just aggravating as all get out to me. I like something very simple to get to. I have all my oil pressure, ECU malfunction right here, hour meter. Fuel gauge is literally right under your eyeballs, and key, PTO, throttle, speed control. Pretty simple, right? Everything is just absolutely right here where I can get to it. That is, I absolutely love it. And the parking brake, this is unique. The parking brake is in the speed control. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And of course, obviously the height of cut adjustment. You know, I'm a left-hand parking brake guy, right-hand height of cut adjustment guy. But the parking brake is right here in the speed control, which I find to be actually quite pleasant, to be honest with you. So the layout of the controls, hands down a 10. A 10 without even question. This is about as clean of a setup as I've ever seen on, not just on a mower, but on any machine I've ever operated. It's just laid out plain and simple right here where I can get to everything with zero effort. So let's talk about the ergonomics of this machine. You know, I have somewhat decent sized hands, and you know, I like to operate it with the palms and the inside of my thumbs. and I find the feel of that to be pretty good. This looks to be like a 3/4 inch tube right here. Well, actually 1/2 inch tube maybe. Oh no, that's 3/4 inch tube. Maybe a 5/8 or so, some type of a neoprene type material padding that's not twisty. It sticks and bites good. Fits my hands really, really well. This does have an adjustment that you twist this right here, and then your front stabilizer bar goes closer to you or further away from you. That way you can adjust it to fit your hands just right. And of course that'll either speed the machine up or slow it down depending on which way you adjust it. This is some type of a plastic material. It's stamped made in the USA as well, so that's a good thing. That's really comfortable. Now I don't know if over time this is going to get hot and become sticky. You know, some plastics, when they sit out in the sun or they're weathered, they get that sticky feel to them, and you pull your hand off of it and you kind of got a gluey feel. I'm not completely sure if this does that, but if it doesn't, then you got a winner right here, because that feels extremely good in the hands. Ergonomics, the only beef I have about the ergonomics is I have this big, nice, wide bar in the front, and I've got this little skinny, narrow one in the back. This looks to be maybe 3/8 or 1/4 inch tubing, and of course it's been bent in a certain way, and basically that's to brace your hands so when you reverse the machine. But it's tiny. It's like really, really tiny, and I kinda am okay with that and kinda am not. I honestly think I would much rather have a bigger bar going across the entire width of the back. That way I can use the entire floor space right here to get a grip on it to go in reverse. But other than that, the ergonomics on it's actually quite well. So for that, I'm going to give the ergonomics a score of a 9. So the functionality and ease of use, everything here is super easy to use, extremely easy. I do have one beef with it though. You see my handle? See, I let this handle go? Well, that's the safety switch, okay? Instead of, you know, some machines have the safety switch in the floor pan. I'm a floor pan guy. I like it in the floor pan. The reason I don't like the safety switch in the handles is everything you do with the mower, you have to have this engaged, okay? I understand the safety aspect. I get it 100%. What's the difference in the safety being in your hand and in the safety being in your foot? I don't see a difference personally. I think it's probably personal preference, but I personally don't like that, because I just have to have my hands right here at all times for something to happen. Meaning, if I'm mowing, I have to get off the machine, pick something up, and then I step back on the machine, I might want to pop the PTO on and then forward. And little intricate details like that, that may just be the habit that I'm in, instead of now I have to jump up, engage, then pop the PTO, then re-engage and go. It's just, it seems like it adds an extra step to the whole process. So it's just personal preference. I personally prefer the foot switch, the safety switch in the floor versus in the hand. But as far as the ease of use go, if you take this safety switch out, which again is personal preference, I'm gonna give it a score of a 9. I mean, it's pretty dang simple to use. So the height of cut adjustment ease is pretty simple. You've got a kind of a unique pin right here, and you basically put the pin in, you just let it fall, and it curves over the frame, wraps around the frame so it holds itself in place, and you basically pull back over to the right and down, pull back over to the left, and it locks. It's actually very simple. It's very simplistic and very easy to use. It's a touch on the heavy side. I mean, you got to put a little bit of force behind it to get it going. The one thing I don't like about this more of a manual type system, This machine rides kind of rough, and if you're going across rough terrain, I noticed this bouncing up and down. It doesn't lock it in the height of cut position, which I personally prefer that way. So, you know, you just kind of got to be aware of that. But taking that out of the consideration and simply talking about how easy is it to adjust the height of cut, I got to give this a score of a 9. If this thing had a spring on it somewhere, I don't see a spring. It looks to be pretty much all manual. If it had a spring on it to assist you a little bit, it would score much better, but it is a little bit heavy. Be aware of that. So one of everybody's favorite categories, Battle of the Blades. This is the height of cut, accuracy, striping, side discharge, and cut quality. Let's go over in the carport right quick and let's look at the height of cut, look up under the deck and check out how accurate it is. All right, so what we're looking for here is anything out of the ordinary, and this definitely sticks out to me right off the bat. You can see this leading edge that comes right here. It flanges out just a little bit, and then look at here. There's actually an opening. See my finger right there? Now this looks to be adjustable, and it is. You can loosen this nut right here. Looks like you can close this or open it more or less. I don't see an adjustment nut on the top, so you do have to use this one right here. Now, what this means, I don't know. Obviously, you're probably going to open it up one way for maybe deeper grass and close it back for not so deep grass. A little bit unsure of that. You have to go to the Bobcat website and see exactly what this this flange or this flap does and how it affects the cut. But we're going to leave it just like it is for today for mowing. Something else I like is there's a ton of room right here. Of course, I think this all helps create some airflow. And then you can see it goes down, and you see the backside is your pretty standard, follows the contour of the blade or the way the blade spins around there. So all that looks pretty typical. There is a striping flap back here, and it does appear to be adjustable to some extent. But other than that, this right here looks like a fairly typical deck. These spindles look totally and completely different than anything I've seen so far. They're much more narrow right here. This looks like a more compact spindle. Again, you'll have to go to the Bobcat website and see what that's about. So the height of cut goes from 1.5 inches all the way up to 4.5. Let's start right here at 2 inches and check it there, and we'll check it at 2, 3, and 4. 2 inches, it's actually at about 2 1/8 roughly. 3 inches, we're coming in at 2 1/2, so it's a 1/2 inch off. 4, it's coming in at 3 1/2. So pretty accurate down here at the 2 inch, but when we get up to 3 and 4, it's about a 1/2 inch off. So you can see it's off a little bit. You know, we found this in quite a few machines. Obviously, there is some micro adjustments that you can make right here. I don't know if the dealer is supposed to do that. I don't know if Bobcat does that at the factory. I have no clue. But either way, this particular machine they sent me, the height of cut was off a little bit. So for that reason, I'm going to give the accuracy of height of cut a score of 8.5. Cut quality. When you heard me say my one word earlier, it was wow. And that was pertaining a lot to the cut quality and the side discharge. This thing cuts like a dream. I mean, it cuts extremely well. I look in between my wheel tracks and I try to find scragglers, those little pieces of grass that are kind of sticking up. Really difficult to find one. This is lush, highly managed, highly maintained turf type all fescue bluegrass rye mix, and it's as thick as the hair on a dog's back, and this thing plowed through it like a hot knife on butter. I was blown away. at how good this machine cuts. Because, you know, and here's why. You kind of, I personally have kind of put Bobcat in the category as that rugged, tough, get out in the woods and get it done type of machine, not a finely manicuring, cutting mower. I've just never placed Bobcat in that category, but this machine is now in that category as far as I'm concerned, because this thing cuts really, really well. Cut quality, I'm going to give it a score of a 10 because it cuts that dang good. Side discharge, I kind of like it. It has really good suction on it. The vacuum on the deck of the mower is very, very good. So it stands that turf up. The blade tip speed is exceptional, so it cuts that grass really clean. I did notice a little bit from here to here, about 18 inches out, I would notice slight clumping. Okay, now all this grass I've mowed in the same condition. The turf is dry to the touch. That way it's even kill across the board for all the machines. So if you got dry grass and you're cutting it up, technically it shouldn't be clumping, right? But I did see a very, very small amount of little tiny clumps, only in that first 18 inches of discharge. But then after that, the force in which this thing blows out is really good. So those little clumps just kind of dispersed and kind of feathered out and you know, just kind of landed softly. Side discharge is important because you don't want to be double cutting. You want to mow a yard one time and it disperse the clippings in an even way so that you don't have to go back over the yard and chop up the clippings even further, because you want that visual appeal to the customer. You don't want the customer having to, Johnny, you left clippings in the yard. You know, you don't want that crap. I don't like it at all. So that's why the side discharge is so important. And this thing, I cut the yard one time. I cut about 2 inches of turf off. I'm cutting it 3.5 inches, and the turf was around 5.5 inches tall. So that's what, 1.5 to 2 inches of discharge I'm throwing out in lush, thick, highly managed turf. And I cut it one time and it was clean as a whistle. I could not get over how good this thing cut. And the side discharge was just absolutely amazing. So, side discharge, it gets a score of a 10 for me. It's really, really, really good. Striping capabilities. You know, this one does have a little striping flap back here. And I would say that it stripes pretty good. You do get some tire track action in these stripes, but overall it's a pretty good hard stripe. I don't think it's the worst striping machine. I don't think it's the best striping machine that I've been on so far. I'd probably put it in the top 2/3. It's definitely on the upper end of striping capabilities. So it was late in the afternoon when I mowed, so you really couldn't see the stripes, but you can see right here, this is in the sunlight, and you can see it stripes pretty dang good. I mean, that's a pretty hard stripe for a first pass. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a score of a 9 in striping capabilities. So next category, smooth operator. That's ride quality and comfort. They're two different things in my opinion. Ride quality is how the machine handles the terrain, how well it sticks to it, does it bump around, jump around, all that kind of thing. Comfort is how do I feel in the cockpit while the machine's jumping around and humping around and bumping around, okay? Ride quality is not good at all. I found the front end coming off the ground back here in my neighbors, you know, back here where we're doing the productivity style videos over here. And at my father-in-law's yard, that's a really rough part of grass back there. The grade on it's pretty bad. And I found the front tires off the ground, not gonna say as much as they were on the ground, but I found the front tires off the ground quite a bit. The front end really likes to bounce up and down a lot. The back end, not so much. The back end is a little more stable, but the front end, I can't pin it down as to what makes this front end bounce so much. but it is quite bouncy. And you know, I've been pretty hard on all the machines on the ride quality, just waiting on the manufacturers to, hey, step up the game in the ride quality. Let's get your engineers involved and try to come up with something unique and different so that you can make the ride quality better. I know it's not going to ride like a Cadillac. I get it. I'm not stupid. I know that. But there has to be something that can be done that can make these stand-on mowers ride a little bit better. So ride quality, I'm going to give it a score of a 7.5 because it's a pretty bumpy ride. Now the comfort, different story. This foot plate back here looks to have some type of a spring-loaded dampening system back here to where the plate pushes in against the spring, and there's 2 on this side and 2 on this side. So it makes it pretty robust. I weigh 250 pounds, and when I get on it, it barely goes down, and it's got good bounce to it. It's got a lot of good bounce to it. I found the comfort on this machine was exceptional. Even though the front end likes to bounce around, when I'm in the cockpit, I myself am comfortable, even though this up here isn't doing what I want it to do. And actually, to be honest with you, I found it to be one of the more comfortable machines I've been on so far. So hey, the comfort of this thing is absolutely top notch. So for that, I'm going to give the comfort 9.5. So next category is horsepower. That's going to be talking about the engine and the hydraulic system. We have a Kawasaki FT730V EFI 26 horsepower. It lacks in no way for horsepower. Got plenty of motor to do whatever you want to do on this platform. My father-in-law's ditch over there is fairly steep, and I found it to hold that hill pretty dang good without any slippage, other than the front end wanting to bounce a lot. That's the only time that it would kind of slip down, but the hydros, you know, manipulating them, you could correct that in a split second. The hydraulics on this thing is very good. So the hydraulic system, feel, sensitivity, and responsiveness. You know that I am a very touchy-feely hydraulic guy. I like, if I move it a millimeter, I want the attachment, implement, whatever, to respond to that millimeter of movement. I prefer my hydraulics that touchy. I found that this hydraulic system is totally and completely opposite of what I like. This is a very smooth, very fluid hydraulic system. The pressure in which you have to exert to physically push the handles forward is kind of stiff. It's got some resistance to it, but that resistance is very smooth and fluid. It's not jerky, it's not really loose, it's not really tight. It just has a good resistance against it. And I found the responsiveness to be pretty good. Now they are a little sloppy. What I mean by that is when I give it this first hint of forward motion, it takes a little bit of time for it to get going. And when I'm in the act of moving in a forward position and I want to turn around, it's a little bit sluggish. It's like the hydro system is a second behind your command. But with that said, they are extremely smooth. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. I think out of all the machines I've been on, this is the smoothest hydraulic system yet. I didn't say the best, because it's in a competition, but as far as the smoothness of how the hydraulics operate, I think this is the best hydraulic system I've been on yet. If you like the smoothness of hydraulics and not touchy-feely, super sensitive. So that's direct opposite of what I like, but I found this to be extremely pleasant to operate. Very, very pleasant. to operate this machine. So the feel, you know, that's kind of the smoothness of it and all. Wow, I've got to give it a score of a 9.5. The sensitivity, you know, that's where, you know, they're not all that sensitive to my commands, because it's hard to have smooth and sensitive all at the same time, in my opinion. So sensitivity, I'm gonna give it a score of 8.5. Responsiveness, you know, it lags a little bit. Like I said earlier, you know, it's not immediate. When you give it a command, it doesn't react immediately. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a score of 8.5. So this is not a scored category, but the category is Hold My Sun Drop. And we're looking for a cup holder. And Bobcat, you don't have one here, buddy. You have plenty of room over here on this left-hand panel over here to mount a cup holder. Matter of fact, you don't even have to drill any more holes. You've got 2 bolt holes right here you could potentially use for that. I mean, you're out there hot, sweating, getting it, and every now and then you might want a swig of water or whatever it is you drink. And it'd be nice to have that on the mower, wouldn't it? So that you could just reach down, grab it while you're mowing, take a swig, and keep getting it. So Bobcat, get us a cup holder on here. So at this point in time in history, we're probably not going to be able to do the torture test. I just simply don't have the time. So I apologize for that. The hillside mowing test, I'm still trying my absolute best to get that done, where we get all the machines together out at a shooting range and mow the berms out there, which are pretty steep. My time is super limited right now, so I'm not completely sure I'm going to be able to pull that off. And if I do, wonderful. If I don't, I'll apologize in advance for telling you I would, but not being able to honor my word on that. So I ask you to forgive me if I'm not able to get that done. So I like to close these videos out with the verdict, and it's just kind of a little more detailed opinion of the machine. Wow. I mean, I've always had this mindset of what I thought a Bobcat was, or how they cut, or how they performed, and of course that's probably based on older models I've tested out and used, but I've never been on a new model Bobcat like this one, and I was absolutely floored. I was blown away at how good it cut and how smooth this machine is. And that goes back to the hydraulics. This is a very, very smooth operating machine. There's nothing about it jerky about it. The thing cuts like a champion. It discharges well, stripes pretty dang good. Bobcat is just an exceptional brand. They make top quality things, all the way from mowers up to skid steers to tractors to whatever else they make. They just make a good product. But like I said, I've never really put the mower in the category with the mowers that you typically, or the brands that you typically put in the wow, that's an awesome mower category. You know what I mean? But after using this one's definitely in that category for me now. And I feel like this would make anybody a wonderful machine, and you would probably get years of use out of it, and you would probably enjoy cutting grass with it, because it's a very pleasurable machine to operate. Now let me say this, I think I overlooked this and didn't say anything about it, so I'll just throw it in right here at the end. This is a very unique system right here, okay? The throttle looks to be electronically controlled. It's on a dial that you turn the dial to throttle up and throttle down, instead of the traditional cable style. I found that to be extremely nice. This is really cool, kind of updated, kind of getting with the technology type thing. And then this control lever here is park. You have a cut speed, and then you have a transport speed. Parking brake, cut, transport. I cut my yard in the cut speed, which slows the machine down a little bit. It's basically a 2-speed. You have your cut and your transport. I cut my fescue and my bluegrass into cut mode, which was a little bit slower speed. I mowed my father-in-law and my neighbor in the transport speed. I found it to cut identical, whether I was going fast or slow. It didn't matter, it still cut the same way. And I just apologize for leaving this part out in the controls, but in my opinion, I think this just adds more to the layout and functionality and ease of use of the control system. I think that's pretty neat. And then on the flip side of that, you know, you have to have everything kind of in order before you can cut the thing off or get off the machine or turn the blades on or off. You know, you have to have this down. This has to be in park before you cut the blades on. You know, you have to have the handle down here, the safety handle, and this has to be in park for certain things to happen. And then if you're up here and cut and you take your hand off, things happen, you know, the blades cut off and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a combination to it. But once you get yourself trained to that combination to where it just becomes habit, then it becomes a no-brainer. It's pretty easy to use. Say again, be sure and like, subscribe, and share. Tell all your buddies. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch. I will check you later.